Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Poker Showdown, brought to you by Party Poker. I am your host, Jaime Staples, and I have a great show for you this week. We have Louise Butler, who is a Party Poker pro and a recent professional out of Ireland. So we have a nice conversation with her about all sorts of things in poker. That'll be coming soon, but before we do that, let's get to some of the online poker news for the past week. Let's talk some of the online poker news, and what a week it has been for Party Poker pros. Let's start off here with Patrick Leonard, better known by Pads Online, won the $200,000 guaranteed high roller this week for $46,889. So a huge congrats to Pads, crushing it out there on the felt like normal. You'll love to see it. Congratulations. Another new addition to the Party Poker Pro team would be Jordan Drummond, BBZ, who we had on the podcast just a couple weeks ago. He was playing in the $5,200 big game, and he managed live on Twitch to win the thing for $141,000. If you missed the stream, you can make sure to check out the BBZ YouTube channel. It'll be coming out soon. You'll be able to watch highlights. Party Poker also tweeted out a clip of him winning and like his reaction. So I was just so happy to see this. He's the newest member of our Party Poker team online, newest streamer to the roster. And it's just so amazing to see him have so much success. A guy that is not shy of success in his career, but nonetheless, I was super hyped. So congratulations, Jordan. Now, over on PokerStars, we saw Prebs Stokan continue his good form as he took down the $1,000 buy-in Sunday warm-up 8-max for over $35,000. High roller specialist Steve O'Dwyer was runner-up, by the way, in this for $27,454. The 1K Sunday cooldown was won by a player, B Awesome 1, for a top prize of $40,745, with Team Party Poker's Anatoly Filatov finishing third place for a combined prize of $18,578. By the way, a lot of names on this list that we've had on this podcast. One of those is Steve O'Dwyer. I've never met Steve O'Dwyer. I'd love to have him on the show. This is a call. Steve O'Dwyer, can I talk to you just to learn from you? Because you just seem so good at poker. I just want to talk to you, and I want to learn. Please, someone help me get in touch with Steve O'Dwyer. Please come on the podcast for an hour. Please. That's it for the online poker news. Let's get into some of the live poker news now. Now on to some of the live poker news, and we kick off with another Party Poker Pro success story here. Sam Trickett crowned the Million Super High Roller Series Sochi champion. Sam Trickett banked $435,000 for his win. 58 entry field contained some of the best players in the world in this $25,000 buy-in event. Trickett defeated a stacked final table that included Phil Ivey, Adrian Mateos, and Party Poker partner Paul Foy. He remains second on the England all-time money list behind Stephen Chidwick with close to $22 million in career earnings. So huge congrats there to Sam Trickett on his success. All the action in Sochi continues this week. A lot of high roller, high buy-in events going on. I've seen Ivy at a bunch of final tables, which is so cool to see. So this is just a shout out as well. Make sure to check out the Party Poker Twitch account. We are broadcasting all these events. I think there's some commentary from PokerGo as well, off the top of my head, and some amazing high-stakes action. So incredible. You don't want to miss it. Now let's get to some of the industry news, and we need to talk about the elephant in the room, so to speak. So to kick off, PokerStars has canceled its live tournaments amid coronavirus concerns. All live festivals scheduled to take place in Europe up until April 10th have been postponed, and affected games are following the road to PSPC events like Hamburg, Germany, Le Grand Mont in France, Madrid Grand Via in Spain. EPT Sochi will go ahead as planned shortly. That's from PokerStars, and Party Poker live events have been postponed as well. Party Poker Live has been monitoring the impact of the coronavirus on the live events, poker live events in the coming months. We thought long and hard about canceling some events and are continuously reviewing our position on a case-by-case basis. The Super High Roller in Sochi this week continues to take place as normal. However, we've had to postpone the upcoming WPT Barcelona Festival, which was due to take place between the 22nd of March and the 5th of April. Million Cyprus, which was due to run the 3rd to the 11th of May in partnership with Merit Poker, has been postponed, but will now take place the 26th of August to the 5th of September. Merit's Poker Classic still goes ahead the 29th of April to the 11th of May. The team at Party Poker Live promises flexibility for those that win packages online for live events. The same flexibility exists for our staff who may choose not to go to a live event. I understand this coronavirus fear and how it affects live poker is obviously everything people want to talk about right now. And it's scary. I'm definitely scared. Like, I'm nervous about the thing. a personal anecdote. I'm not a scientist. I don't know the likelihood of any of this stuff. I just see that a lot of the poker world is talking about this and concerned about it. I'm doing my best to take things day by day, and take information as it comes in at a time. Something that I've learned about myself that I think I learned from poker is that perhaps I act a little too quickly. At times, I'm used to on a poker table having to gather all the information and making a decision right now because you have a time bank and there's no time to wait. And I've learned about myself that that's not necessarily how it happens in life, and that's not how it's happening with this virus either. So it's pretty intense and pretty scary, but I'm doing my best to not jump to conclusions and to just gather the new information day by day and adjust as things go forward. So obviously, fingers crossed that humanity can figure out how to slow this thing down and we get through it and life continues and the game of poker continues to thrive, especially on the live belt. So those are my thoughts. For what they're worth, let's continue on to talking about something else. We had the GPI Awards this week, and we saw Kristen Bicknell retain the Female Player of the Year award for the 3rd year running. So congratulations, Kristen Bicknell, someone I'd love to have on this podcast in the coming month or two. So amazing success there. Congratulations. Alex Foxen also won the GPI Player of the Year prize. So that's a power couple if I've ever seen one. Also, Joey Ingram claimed 2 awards for Journalist of the Year and Media Content of the Year video, thanks to his in-depth analysis work on the Mike Postel cheating scandal. Party Poker partner Paul Foy of Triton Poker collected the award for Industry Person of the Year. What an amazing job he's done with the Triton series, taking that from what seemed like an idea a couple years ago to a massive thing in poker. So I think deserved for Paul Foy, and congratulations to him. The Poker Icon Award went to the legendary back-to-back WSOP main event champ, Johnny Chan. Whew. Johnny Chan, man. What a name. What a name. I just think Rounders. Immediately when I think Johnny Chan, I think like the old school and Rounders. On the content side of things, so we saw the Vlogger of the Year go to Andrew Neeme. Huge congrats to Andrew Neeme, who's been so impactful in this game. So that was great to see. And then Streamer of the Year went to one of my former colleagues and a former roommate of mine as well, Lex Veldhuis. I think very deserved, a guy that has changed the landscape of Twitch poker, does an amazing thing. So even though we're on opposite teams now, he's over with PokerStars and I'm with Party Poker. I think he deserves the award, and I wish him nothing but success going forward as well. Shout out to my teammates, Matt Staples and my brother, and All in Pav, who were also nominated for that award, and Benjamin Sprague as well, who was nominated. I think if I had to choose the top 4 streamers for 2019, that would have been my 4. So incredible work for all those guys, and keep it up. Let's talk a little bit about the Party Poker news before we jump into this interview. So the first thing is the cash game giveaway, the huge leaderboards we have going on in Party Poker right now. There's over $1 million in cash game leaderboards throughout March happening right now. So if you're a cash game player, it's a good opportunity for you. Leaderboard changes mean more money for finishing in the min cash position, while top prize have been doubled to over $10,000. Another $35,000 to be won every week in the daily cash boom promotion as well. The site's industry-leading cashback program rewards players with up to 40% cashback every week at the tables. Party Poker Marketing Director Vadim Solanchuk said, "At Party Poker, we're committed to growing the game we all love and fully dedicated to giving back to our players. We believe that what's good for poker is good for Party Poker." So there you go. If you're a cash game player, get out there. Compete for those $1 million leaderboards, man. Party Poker Live's $10 million guaranteed Millions World returns this November. This is big, man. This is big. High-stakes event scheduled for November 13th to 17th during the Caribbean Poker Party bookends the year in style. It's a $25,500 buy-in event set to attract some of the game's biggest high rollers once again. The festival runs from November 12th to 22nd at the Baha Mar in the Bahamas. Party Poker, listen to this. Party Poker has promised seats in the $5 million guaranteed main event worth $5,300 apiece to the first 100 people that qualify for the $25K, which means over $500,000 in added value. That's right. If you win a seat into the $25K, you're getting to play the main event for free if you're one of the first 100. That's a pretty incredible promotion. I want to make sure I get the word out on that one because I think that is unbelievable, and I feel like more people need to know about that. So Millions World going down this November. Get qualifying. Satellites start this week online. And now let's get to our interview with Louise Butler. Now, Louise is from Shannon in County Clare, Ireland. She plays under the moniker Lou045, ranked the #1 Irish female online poker player on Pocket Fives, having amassed over $500,000 in online MTT caches. Our conversation was really great. We talked a lot about sort of her first experience in Vegas, playing online, some of her experience turning pro 2.5 years ago, and how it's been different than perhaps if you got into the game a decade ago or earlier than that. It's obviously a very different game, poker, now than it was back then. So it was great. And we touched a lot on women in poker and why we don't have as many women in poker and perhaps what we could do to make that better. So I had such a great time having this conversation with Louise. I thought it was really insightful and interesting, and I hope you all feel the same. So without further ado, here's the interview with Louise. Joining me on the podcast today, I have a Party Poker pro, Louise. Louise, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the first time we've met. Actually, we're talking here on Discord, and I was so excited when I had the opportunity to get you on the show. So if you wouldn't mind, just give me and the audience a little background. How did you find your way into poker?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a longish story, I guess. Like, I just started playing in uni, like home games, like everyone, I guess. So they were fun, just with friends. I loved it. Like, I would play a tiny bit online, but like nothing serious, mainly just home games. And then for the most part, like, forgot about poker, but would play it occasionally. I was like traveling a lot in my 20s and stuff. And then eventually just decided to like lodge a small amount of money. I read about some guys building bankrolls and stuff. And yeah, I lodged like $300 and was like, I'm going to build this up into a bankroll. And yeah, I went pro about 2.5 years ago, I think.
Amazing. That's a pretty good run up. So I want to ask you about the traveling, by the way. We'll go back to that after. But, you know, when you were first starting playing, like, was there like a university, like society or something? I know that's a big thing in the UK and Ireland is there seems to be like poker communities in uni. Was it similar for you?
Yeah, funnily enough, because it was so popular back then, like I never considered going pro, which looking back, you're like, oh my God, the timing. But like, yeah, I only played in like home games, and there was some really cheap game like in the local casino. I think it was like it might have been even lower than like a €5 rebuy, and a lot of students would go to that. But I think there was a society, but maybe they didn't play for money. Mm-hmm. So it was just like kind of me and a bunch of friends. Like sometimes we'd have like 15 people at a home game. It was just everyone played. It was really, really fun.
Right. Was there like a turning point when you're playing for fun with your friends, which I think probably a lot of us listening or watching the podcast did that. Yeah. Was there like a distinct moment you can remember, like, hold on a second, like I might actually be winning money at this game. Like maybe I should take this more seriously or like consider going pro? Was there a turning point?
Yeah, it's really weird when I look back on it. So like say in those home games, like I liked watching poker and like I read a bit of Super System and stuff, but for some reason, I don't know why, it was like a mental block. Like I never considered that as a potential job when I was young. Mm-hmm. So say me and one of my friends kind of started just taking over the home games. Like it was like me and him just constantly winning to the point where it was annoying. Shout out to Jaime. He actually turned into a cash game pro and did that for a few years. But for me, I don't know what it was. Like, I guess I just thought it was like kind of, you see like Americans like playing poker with like insane amounts of money. Mm-hmm. And it just seems so out of reach. Like I never considered it. And then I guess just forgot about it for a long time. But I've always loved games, and like I just stumbled upon this thing one day about some Irish guys who they worked together as a team and like built their bankrolls and all this. And I was like, oh, that seems kind of achievable. I was actually on their podcast this week, and they said they hated that interview because it made poker sound really boring. Like they were talking about sharing expenses, like, you know, grinding it out, but it actually made it seem like a real thing I could do for me.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because I think like the prestige of poker is often how we market poker, like the big games and the big swings, right? Las Vegas, the Bellagio, exactly. Like but that's not necessarily the reality for everyday poker players or even poker pros. So it's an interesting point you bring up.
Yeah, it's like an alien thing. Like, how did they get on this TV show with this much money? Like, that doesn't seem like something a normal person could work towards, I guess.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and what do you think about like the way we talk about caches too? Because this is just normal in the industry.
Yeah.
But as I was doing my research for our podcast today, I got a brief on your story, and it was like 500,000 in caches online, and I was like, great. And it's like me too, and we talk about that in the media, like, oh, so and so has 10 million in caches. It's like, well, that doesn't really matter in regards to the bottom line. It's just interesting how that is, the way that we talk about poker in the world, right?
It's so interesting because for me, like I really, besides one friend who was a cash game player and I was away most of the time, like not at home, so I wasn't around him, I didn't know anybody when I was grinding up. Like I had no communication with anyone in poker. I just lost $300 and was like, I'm going to try do this.
Right.
So for me, I always followed like Pocket Fives Ireland, and like I loved like railing. Like I didn't know any of the people, but I was like, wow, these Irish guys are like, winning all this money, and I would like follow them through that. And I like the kind of trying to make poker a bit of a sport. I think that's good for the game. Like I think I've around 750,000 in caches. I know it doesn't mean anything really, but I'd like to get to 1 million just so like, if there's other girls playing online, there's not nobody there.
Right.
Like I feel like, if you see someone like you do something, that kind of resonates with me a little bit and it makes it seem more achievable or something. So I don't think it's perfect because it can be so misleading. Like when I did some media stuff with the Irish media, I found it really hard to try to explain things like that because they're looking for like headline figures and you're like trying to explain how, it's an indicator of some things, but I don't have like $700,000. So like, so it's a bit of a weird one. Like, I still think it's probably a benefit to have those figures because I think as well for recreational players, it distinguishes it from like other kinds of gambling. Like I know a lot of people who play tournaments for fun and, their friends follow them on Hendon Mob. Like it's a fun thing. Just don't take it too seriously, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, the flags. I love, it used to be a thing where people would try and collect flags of different countries around the world and caches and stuff. Like the gamifying of poker, I think it's good. So I really agree with you.
Yeah, I really like that side. Yeah. I think there could probably be a better system, but you also, like, I think I watched your podcast with Courtney and I really liked how you're talking about how, sometimes pros can be a bit like, oh, it's so lame when people are into poker, and I hate that as well. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's like, it's a cool, like, you get to, like, play a game for a living. Like...
I don't, I'm with you. I don't understand why it is. Maybe you have better insight. I'm curious what you think, but it just seems like the poker industry is almost embarrassed of its own game at times. Like, some of the professionals that play, it tilts me. Why is it? Why do you think that is?
I'm really not sure. I feel like it's less like that with I'm going to say younger players. I'm not a younger player, but I guess because I've went pro and it's been maybe a bit harder. So say maybe the dream is a bit different. It's like you've had to work pretty hard to just make like maybe a little bit more than other people that you live near. And like, it's not as easy. So I think maybe like newer players kind of have a bit more pride or, want it to be seen as the game and competitive rather than as gambling, like pure gambling. Obviously there's gambling involved in poker. It is gambling, but to differentiate, I'm not really sure. I think it's a really weird thing. Like I was quite nervous, like telling my parents and stuff.
Right.
But
how did they take it? Take me through that conversation.
Yeah, they were totally fine with it. It's really funny because I guess I've always been a little bit alternative and done things maybe just my own way that people would have thought were a bit crazy. So I think in that regard, it was easier for me. But I had all these things ready. Like I had graphs,
Right.
And like they just were grand with it. And now they love it. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on like how you present yourself to do with it as well. And as you said, like, what's the point in, like, I love poker, so it's better to talk about it in that way, and then I think people are more accepting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
The parent thing is an interesting barrier too, because I remember first bringing it up, and my parents didn't know, like most of the world, the difference between poker and other gambling. They just grouped it all
Yeah.
together. So it's an interesting transition. I want to touch a
And
little
then
bit
like,
on.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, it's a bit of a delay. Sorry if I'm interrupting. Say, like I remember going through like the 2+2 posts and people were like, my parents disowned me. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Like, should I be more nervous? But they're totally fine. Like even my grandparents, like my mom told my grandparents and they just seem fine with it. So I'm
Mm,
pretty lucky.
yeah. I want to touch on a little bit you coming up in the game and turning pro 2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
which is like very different than most of the professionals that are around now. Like it's a lot of
Yeah.
people that I think have been in the game for a decade or longer, that have sort of managed to sustain through all the changes we've gone through. So
Mhm.
what sort of differences do you think was your experience coming up and turning professional, as opposed to like how it used to happen back in, like the old days, or even like the boom of online poker?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it's just completely different. Like, so for one thing, I think it really helped actually that I started with such a small bankroll. So I was playing like $1, $2 games. Like, I think my pocket fives might be the most grindery thing in the world. Like,
Right.
I really play small fields. I guess it's not very flashy. Like, my biggest score is still just like 30,000. It's all like, playing those like 100 player, like $22 tournaments. And I'm fine with that. I think sometimes maybe players who were around when it was easier, like they're a bit unhappy playing those kind of games to like make sure they can live month to month and things like that. Whereas I think it's a bit more natural. So I feel like I missed the boat a little bit.
Right.
But like I've worked jobs I don't like. I'm a bit older when I started into this, so I really appreciate like the freedom and getting to do something I love. And I don't need to make a fortune. I'm just happy to be making like decent money doing something I enjoy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had a conversation earlier this year about that with Doug Polk. It
I
seems
yeah I
like
heard that.
$100,000 is the threshold
I
for a
still
lot of
wouldn't be
players,
approved.
as to like, this is acceptable. I don't understand it really. I
Yeah,
don't get it. So
I think as well, like just maybe like priorities are a bit different. Like I've always enjoyed like just having freedom. I've always hated having a boss.
mm,
Like poker just ticks a lot of boxes for me. I like that you can work really hard for a month and then, if there's nice weather, you see a cheap flight somewhere, you can kind of take 2 weeks off. Like they're pretty big perks. And I think newer players appreciate those perks a little more, and it's a little bit less just about making lots of money.
right.
Obviously, everyone would like to have like huge scores and all this, but maybe there's a bit more patience. Like, you know, I just think it's a bit different. It took a bit more work to get to the point where you could kind of pay your bills. So
Yeah.
I don't know. it is
Speaking
it
of,
is frustrating. Like people are always like, "What's your biggest score?" You're like,
it's
you
same.
know,
Yeah. Same for me too. Mine's like
yeah,
35K at this point, I think.
yeah.
Um,
I think everyone knew it. Like everyone who's like stuck around or is newer, I think it's just a lot more grindery. Like you look for softer sites. You like if you're on a downswing, you're not just like, oh, I'm on a downswing. It's like you kind of are aware yourself. Okay, smaller fields, different sites.
mm,
Like sometimes you want a shot take, and then sometimes it doesn't go well. I think it's just like more used to adjusting and things.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of some of those past jobs, what's all time worst job?
Hmm. It's a tough one. I've had a few. I was like, one job I left that people said I was nuts to leave. I was working for like, it was like during the recession in Ireland, and I got this job with, I'd been away in like Thailand and then lived in London, moved home, got this job with this cosmetic surgery company, basically doing marketing for them.
Right.
Just in an office every day. I was so miserable. Just like, it was a terrible office atmosphere. I'm not into like office politics and stuff. It was a nightmare. And yeah, I remember I got like a big promotion and it was like you're gonna have a pension and all this. And like a week later I was like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
I just left. Like I think I moved somewhere. I think I went to Thailand or Australia or somewhere like straight away after. I think
Right.
almost the security, like of getting a promotion somewhere where you're not happy, and you see how hard it would be to leave the security of that, like say 3 or 4 years down the line. I was like, I don't want to spend like my younger years doing this.
Right. And how about the
So yeah.
travel that you talked about? When you were first getting into poker, you said you traveled quite a bit. Do you have
Yeah,
any
so
highlights of like favorite places or?
yeah, like I love Thailand, spent a lot of time in Thailand, spent a few years in Australia, I loved it there. Yeah, it was just really cool. Just like I used to just like work really hard and like say I remember like I worked in the Outback in a pub in Australia and we'd be doing like split shifts. Like, do you get paid more in Australia if you work in regional areas?
Oh, okay.
So, and there's just insane hours. So you'd be working like 70 hours a week for like 2 months, and then you just save a ton of money and like go on a really long road trip and go to Thailand for 6 months. That's just kind of how I lived for quite a while, before I started taking poker seriously.
Right.
But yeah, obviously I've worked a lot of like crappy jobs as well. Um, so yeah, I kind of appreciate a lot of things about poker. I think there's a lot of good things about it that aren't talked about enough.
Mm. Um, I wrote down here a question because my fiance actually gave it to me, and I think it's a good one to ask.
Yeah.
Was there a hand in your poker career, like a most impactful or influential hand? I don't know if it's the biggest pot or like one
Yeah.
that changed things for you. Does anything stand out?
Um, I don't really think so. Um, I don't know. I'm pretty good at like not looking back on like things that went wrong at the end of like big tournaments and things. So
Right.
I don't really feel like either way there has been. Maybe again that's a little bit because like I've always been a bit focused on like smaller fields. I think I actually probably haven't like taken enough shots. That's something I'm trying to get more used to doing.
Mm.
But yeah, not that I can recall really.
I guess it's a little different online too because I feel like every exclusive live pro that you talk to, they have the
Yeah,
stories about the crazy pot or the crazy hand or the crazy
yeah.
game. Whereas online, like there's just so much volume,
You
isn't
see
there? Like so many
so many.
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and like sometimes like you just feel like, God, like there's like months, like you can have like a month where you're like, oh my God, like how does this keep happening to me?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
feeling. And it's like, yeah, sometimes I'll talk to like friends who just play live and they'll tell me like a bad beat that's like, it's like, it's not even really a bad beat,
Right. Yeah.
But I guess when you see it less, it's more impactful, I think.
Mm.
Like just if you're playing a lot of tables, you're just going to get like two outer, like a reasonable amount. It's not going to like blow your mind.
Yeah.
You're
Like every day.
aware.
Every day you're gonna
Yeah.
get the 2 hours for
Yeah,
sure.
you're
Yeah.
just aware things are going to happen.
Yeah. For sure. What's the
Yeah.
split with you for live poker and online? Like, what do you prefer playing, and like, do you like to mix, or where's your head at on that?
I'm definitely like mainly an online player. Like I do enjoy going to live events and I increasingly enjoy it, but I still consider myself like to some degree inexperienced live. I went to Vegas in 2018 for the summer and obviously probably go to like 3 or 4 live events a year. Um, I feel like I'm potentially like more suited to do well live. I think like the online background, and then I do think there's a lot of stereotypes when you sit down, like especially in like 1Ks down when you're a girl. I
Mm.
feel like sometimes people will just like fold and show a lot and like not adjust their play based on what they think of you.
Right.
So I think it's something I'm interested in, but I just think you need so much money behind you, and also just the variance scares me, So scary to think about like playing like live poker tournaments for a living. I don't think I'd ever fully do that unless I had some kind of massive score. But I
Right.
really love going to like the live events, just being around other poker players and taking some shots, and it's different, it's fun. But like for now anyways, definitely this year I'm just gonna focus online. I was thinking of going to Vegas this summer, but I think with all the coronavirus kind of knowing what's happening, I'm
Mm.
just like I'll just grind online.
That was one of the topics I had written down because it's at the front of
Yeah,
mind. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone
yeah.
has opinions on it. So coronavirus and the poker industry, like, what do you think's gonna happen for live poker events for the next like 4 to 6 months?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because Irish Open was supposed to be on in a couple of weeks. So for International Women's Day, I was doing an AMA, and like I was like trying to find out, what is happening, because quite a few of the questions were like about Irish Open and would it go ahead, and quite a lot of like people were asking could they hold it online, things like that. So I think it's going to be super disruptive for the next few months for live. But I could definitely see maybe some like live events moving online or something. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It would be good if there was a way to make online a little bit more sociable for recreational players. Like, I'm not sure if there's any way to do that, but I think it's just, I can't see that many live events going ahead in the next few months. I don't know about WSOP, but even if it does go ahead, I feel like the turnout would be pretty low because, say for me, I'm not going to like book flights and a hotel, even if there's like, a 40% chance it would be cancelled.
Yeah. Well, that's
like,
the thing. Like World Series of Poker is every year, so like why?
Yeah.
My head goes to why would you go this time?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
especially for online players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're just like, I'll just wait till next year.
Yeah, just play online for a bit. Like I'll play online this summer, and next summer I'll go. But I think that's the big one, right?
Like, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I think that's the big one. Like I've seen WPT has pushed off their event in Barcelona. I saw the Irish Open was pushed off until later. Party Poker Live is sort of evaluating things as it goes. Yeah. PokerStars canceled events until I think early April. So it's like that I expected, but the World Series of Poker is, for better or worse, like our defining tournament in this game. Yeah. So I really don't know what it would be like a year without the World Series of Poker. Like that's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Just play it on Party Poker.
Yeah, there I'm sure we could work something out to get it on Party Poker. I'm sure
that would be amazing.
Yes.
Like I would love if you could play like WSOP online. That is one thing. Like when I went to Vegas, like it was such a good trip. Like I did love playing WSOP. I think some events are just so prestigious, like the Irish Open. I love playing that. I think with live events, you just feel like it would be so sick to win some of them. And it's such a different thing because, there's rails and it's a lot more social. Whereas like online, you deal with disappointments and you deal with excitement kind of on your own.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think that's a fun thing about live, like how if one of your friends is doing well, you have a chance to like actually enjoy that with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think we need to figure out how to get that environment on online poker. I think Twitch does a little bit of that. I mean, Twitch is sort of my area, so I'm not trying to hype up my own platform, but have you ever considered streaming?
You can hype up Twitch. I used to watch a lot of Twitch when I was like just more starting, almost for company as I was playing, that kind of way. Just like nowadays I don't so much because when I play I tend to just play. But yeah, I think like everything like Twitch, anything that can make like poker more sociable and more of a gaming kind of sports style thing is good, I think.
Right. Would you ever consider streaming yourself, like starting up a channel?
No, it's funny because when I was grinding up, like I think I had about like 300,000 caches before I even joined Twitter. Like I just didn't know anybody. Nobody knew me. I was barely on social media. So like my one friend who played was always like, you need to Twitch. But well, for one, I live in the middle of nowhere, my internet connection. So I work off 3G, which is okay for poker. Try not to touch my face in this coronavirus. So like anytime I go on Twitch, I tend to either go to my parents' house or if the weather is pretty decent, I'll chance it here. So that's a bit of a problem. But also, I'm not good at keeping a schedule. Like, one of the things I love about poker for me is I'm someone who is like, I could play like 70 hours a week for 2 months and then not really want to see poker for 6 weeks, which I think is not good for like building an audience. And I don't know if I'm that great at like keeping conversation going either, especially when you don't have followers. It's like, try to think of things to say while I'm playing.
Yes.
I'm quite bad at describing hands and things because I suppose I grinded up when I didn't know anybody, didn't talk to anyone about poker. So I still feel a bit like an idiot when I talk through poker hands. Like just the way I describe hands, I feel is a bit clumsy and I don't know.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think
Yeah.
that is the hardest part about streaming. I would agree. The early days when no one's talking, like what I
Yeah.
think of in my head, and I actually use a stereotype in my head to like remind myself, but I think of like a California girl in my head, you know,
Yeah.
like a valley girl, and I'm like, okay, what would
Yeah.
they say in this spot? Because you just have to verbal diarrhea, just
Keep
like
going. Yeah.
everything in your head has to come out loud. It's not normal. Um,
No, it's so hard because
no.
then it's like I think everyone would look at people like you and be like, yeah, but they have loads of people talking to them. It's like, yeah, but they also have to start here, like
Yeah. Yeah.
awkward silence. Yeah, it's pretty funny just trying to come up with things to say. Yeah, I feel like when I do it sometimes it's like long periods of silence, but then I feel like I'm talking such nonsense that I don't
Right.
want to annoy people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird how that pressure builds, right? But
Yeah.
it's good that you've done it some on the Party Poker channel. So at some
Yeah,
point,
I think it's kind of a nice thing to get other pros to do because it shows you like how much work goes into it. Like it's not the same as playing. I definitely think it's harder and I think it's kind of good for everyone to have to do it just so that they understand the work going into it from the streamers.
yeah. Well, like I'll say as a poker fan, it's just so nice to see differing faces and opinions and ways of
Yeah,
playing show up and like and represent our game to like thousands of
yeah,
people. Like it's just nice to have that as an industry.
yeah.
So
It's
um,
cool, yeah.
I
I
double
think it's
that.
definitely good for the game. And I think just like Twitch kind of it's very much like a gamer thing and I personally like when poker is kind of marketed as a game. Like
Mm,
and I think that anything which contributes to that, like even if you're not perfect, rankings, Twitch, all that kind of stuff, like streams of games, the commentary, like I think all that stuff is just really good for poker.
right.
The more the better.
I agree. I agree. I think we
Yeah.
need to keep working on the ranking stuff. I'm with you
Yeah.
because I think that's what makes it
Because you
fun
know,
to
it used
me.
to be so exciting. It used to be like I've seen Patrick Leonard tweet about this about maybe getting some like sponsorship for things like that. I think that is a good idea, like to add some prestige and even if it's not perfect, it kind of gives people starting out like, wow, look at this person winning whatever amount or you know.
Hmm.
And if there's a prize, like some decent prizes for like top of the rankings, like say I don't think I'll ever be top of the rankings, but if the bigger players are encouraged to, you know, share their results from say party poker and things where right now they're not incentivized to, just bring a bit of buzz back to it and market it in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the plan. I like it.
Yeah, I just need some car company to start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so if you, I want to ask about people that are newer to the game, amateur players or people that are thinking of turning pro. Was there a mistake that you made that you feel like you learned from and that maybe other people could learn from as well on their own journey in playing poker?
I feel like I almost paid too much attention to reducing variance, which I think is like the opposite to most people. So I'd be wary against giving advice against it. Like, so say for instance, I will always kind of choose like the smaller fields the whole time. Whereas lately I've kind of switched that a little bit and I try to focus on what fields have maybe like just softer fields and there's more value in them, even expect to run bad for a longer period of time. So for me, I feel like I actually haven't taken enough shots in poker. I play with a very deep bankroll. I like to have a consistent flow of money and try to limit down things, but I feel like that's been a bit of a hindrance. But I wouldn't advise most people to do that because I think most people I know are a little bit on the other side. They're a bit
Mm.
crazy with their bankroll and not willing to do the very grindery things.
Yeah, that was
Like,
my next question was
yeah,
like the strengths and hearing that. I think that is different than the mass majority of people, like you
yeah.
say, where they're definitely more on the gambly side. So, but do you have anything else that like maybe stands out in your career that's helped you to get to where you are, as opposed to the thousands of people that try and don't make it?
I think just like basic things like I don't feel like I ever throw away money because I'm like annoyed at the end of a session. Like I feel like that's a huge leak a lot of people I know have. Like, you
Mm,
know, they have like two tables left and they just had horrible things happen to them when they're deep in a few tournaments. So they almost just write off the EV of those last couple of screens. I think that's like a massive leak. Like you can't really do that nowadays. So I think just having a good mindset when you play. Trying to think, like courses are amazing these days. So do some courses, and like I personally think everyone in poker pretends to study a little bit more than they do, besides maybe the very top players. So even if you just think to yourself, yeah, if you think to yourself, like if you're doing like, you know, half an hour a day of like reviewing something, or, you know, maybe just have a pad beside you and write down, I'm uncomfortable in this spot. Like normally, if you're getting a bit cranky about a spot or uncomfortable about it, I feel like when that happens to me, it's because I don't know what to do in the spot. So if you like write that down and like just look into it, like I think just consistently doing a little bit of work, even if like I would consider myself a bit of a lazy person in that regard. Like I'm not lazy with putting in volume, but I'm a bit lazy with like, oh God, like I'm gonna have to like go into ICMizer, or I need to do a few more videos on this course, or what's going wrong here. Like I think not feeling overwhelmed when you see other people being like, oh, I'm deep in the lab studying, because everyone's exaggerating a little bit. If you just do a little bit a day, you'll probably do all right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, consistency as opposed to the keeping up with the Joneses on
like, because a lot of people do like talk to me about that, especially I suppose a lot of girls who are getting into poker like will like send me messages when they have scores and stuff, but they almost find it a bit intimidating how much work they think poker is. And I'm like, seriously, it's not. Just do like half an hour a day. Like yeah, you're seeing all these like Instagram stories and everyone's always studying and working, but they're posting like more than they're doing almost, you know. It can be intimidating to newer players who think, oh my God, like you have to study for like 3 hours a day. That doesn't sound fun, but I don't think you need to do that. Yes, if you want to be top in the world, but you can do okay and just like play and have fun and do a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're 100% right. I think it's a whole lot of talk and not a lot of people actually doing it, except for at the top. I think the people at the top are the ones that, you know, consistently for 15 hours a week are like actually studying poker, and that's why they're there. Yeah.
Like I would love to be able to do that, and I always strive to be able to do that, but if somebody wants to get better at poker, I like them to know like not everyone is doing that. You know, there's people winning who aren't doing that. And I think that's a bit of an ego protection thing a lot of players have. Like, you know, sometimes you'll meet someone in real life and they're like, seems like all they do is study. And then you talk to them, it's like, wow, it's pretty crazy. Like, you know, they'll be like, oh my God, this person reshoved this here and that's insane. Like, it's so terrible. And you're like, no, the reshove's good. Like in your head, you're like, what are you, like, you can't be studying that much. Like,
do you ever feel pressure with plays where you're worried about what other people will think? Does that ever play into your game?
Yes and no. Like, I feel like you just have to be comfortable, like, making mistakes. Obviously, like, I still don't know tons of things about poker, so I'm going to make mistakes. So sometimes I'll feel like a bit of an idiot if I do something, but then a lot of the time as well, I feel like everyone makes mistakes. Like, you'll have just sometimes, like, you know, you'll watch someone who you think they're definitely a better player than me, but they'll like do something in a specific spot, and you're like, you've looked at the spot like 2 weeks ago, and you're like, wow, that's bad. Like, so yeah, like I just feel like it's a natural thing. People are going to think you're really terrible sometimes, and sometimes they're right, and that's just part of it, right? If you worry about it too much, if I worried about that too much, I don't think I'd ever sit down to play, because I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Obviously, it's way harder, like for people like you who are on Twitch, I think.
A little bit more. Like if you live a public game or like a public life on YouTube or Twitch or what have you.
Yeah.
I mean, on one side, you're always going to be wrong. You know, if you have 1,000 people watching a spot, you can be sure that 50 of them are going to disagree no matter what you choose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is some pressure to just like fit in to what the world thinks is good, as opposed to what you might think is good, for sure. So that
I think that's a pretty big. Yeah, like anytime I streams, I always end up playing super nitty, and I feel like well, one, I'm always a bit conscious of like trying to talk and do things, but also I feel like there just is this like low key thing of like you just want to take a safer route, even though you know it's
Yeah.
terrible. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I don't know if that like goes down with time or, but yeah, I think that would be hard. Like live, sometimes I will think I really want to pull the trigger here, and I'll always like make myself do it. But
Mm.
there's like, you know, a couple of times live, I think when you're a girl as well, and maybe you up the aggression, sometimes people will be like, "Oh my God, that's terrible. Did you see what like that person did there?" And you know it's not terrible, but for some reason it still bothers you when the person says it on some small level.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
hate that at a poker table. I hate when people like give out about other people's plays. Like I just never see the point in it.
Absolutely. I want to bring that up as well because you talked about International Women's Day that just happened, and you were doing some stuff with Party Poker for that. So,
Yeah.
so what do you think about the game of poker in regards to women and like how we're doing as an industry? Um, we can start there, but I also
Yeah.
want to know about sort of the differences in your experience. But
Yeah,
how do
I
you
feel
think we're
like
doing?
it's a weird one. Like it's so bizarre how few women play poker. It still is bizarre to me. Like there's no physical elements. Like I grew up playing sports, maybe it's more natural. Like my favorite thing about poker almost is everyone can just compete without like age doesn't matter, like, you know, fitness doesn't matter, like guys having more muscle mass or something doesn't matter. It's like girls and guys can just compete. I think that's kind of an awesome selling point that maybe isn't sold.
Hmm. Right.
Um, yeah, I also think there's probably just like it's always been marketed towards men. I think that's probably getting a bit better. Like maybe it's more important to highlight the female women who like sorry female women female players who are doing well even if they're not doing as well as guys who would get highlighted, just to have that kind of like if you can't see it you can't be it thing. Like I feel like when I was younger I saw Vicky Corrin playing on TV and I wonder is that why I said yes to that first home game,
Mm-hmm.
just because I saw this like English blonde lady winning, you know?
Yes.
So my first exposure to it was almost like my dad watching her on TV. And I remember this when I was quite young. So maybe that's why, like, when I was in uni, like, it was pretty much always all guys. Like, occasionally there'd be one other girl. Usually, like, a girlfriend would come along just for like one game and not come back. But to me, it seemed like a thing that why wouldn't women play? But yeah,
Right.
it's bizarre to me how few girls we have.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. And I'm
That's
like you, I
crazy.
can't piece it together because, well, I think perhaps in the beginning, poker was like a very masculine idea, like the Old
Yeah.
West, and like I'm gonna catch a man on a bluff, or like
Yeah.
it was a masculine idea. I think is how it was sold in at least in North America. Um,
Yeah, I suppose maybe I think women are like conditioned to do things that are socially acceptable
mm,
a bit more than men. Like I think that society kind of sees it as okay for men to fail and they're expected to take risks.
right.
Maybe that like limits some women from doing something that's a bit, you know, some people are going to have a problem that you like gamble for a living or whatever. And I think that guys are more equipped from how they were raised and stuff to shrug that off.
Right.
Whereas I think a lot of girls, um, you know, just you're kind of raised to like you want people to like you. It's very important, you know,
Mm,
like and maybe like a lot of women don't play sports growing up. I think that's something that helped me. Just the fact that when I was younger, I played a lot of sports. I played camogie and golf reasonably seriously,
mm,
and I guess that competition is kind of in you because women participate so much less in sports than men anyway when they're young.
right.
But it still doesn't really account for it. Like when you play golf, there's visibly tons of women play golf.
Mm.
So I still don't 100% understand why we don't have more women. I think there's definitely things you could do to improve, but it still doesn't make sense to me why it's so low.
Yeah, you bring up some really great points, I think, and I think you hit the nail on the head for a few of those, like the risk, like how that's just such a more normal thing
Yeah,
in a male upbringing typically, as
yeah,
opposed to a female upbringing. So I wonder, like, if there's interesting things we could do to sort of shift the end goal of poker tournaments to encourage more women
Yeah.
to play, you know, like to take some of the perceived risk out of it and make it more
Yeah.
social. I don't have a
Yeah, I
solution. I
think
just
like
think it's good.
I think even doing things to make the game seem more socially acceptable can help.
Mm.
Because if the game is more socially acceptable, like that's one of the reasons I think it should be marketed primarily as a game, not as gambling. Like the more socially acceptable poker is, the more like I've seen people like Ben CB in universities talking about poker. Things like that are great, I think.
Mm.
So the more like socially acceptable it becomes, I think it will attract more women. And I also feel like younger people, like guys and girls, I don't know if there's many 20-year-olds nowadays who want to do something where it's 95% guys. I think
Yes.
younger people are a bit different, and if you want to poker to be popular with young guys, you're going to need girls to play.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of good for everybody to try get more women out there who are doing well, and I don't know, just think about these things a little bit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because in golf, I'm like you. I wanted to be a pro golfer when I was growing up,
Oh,
so
cool.
I spent most of my life on the golf course till 18.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Um, and I mean, on the golf course, you get to choose your group. You get to choose the three people
Yeah,
you play with. So like
that's
you,
something like I have said that before, and it stuck with me. Someone was talking about this, and I was like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense because, like in golf, you know, I think in Ireland, like 35% of golfers are women, and I named a couple of other sports. And they were like, yeah, but you get to play with other women. The problem in poker is you have to play with men,
right? Yeah,
which I would naturally see as a kind of good thing, but there are some downsides to it.
absolutely. Yeah, the openness
Yeah,
of it. It's Well, it's a very difficult problem, I think. It's like
yeah.
I look at my analytics on YouTube and I think it's like 2% women that watch
Wow, it's
my YouTube
crazy.
channel, and I'm assuming Twitch is the same. So,
That's nuts.
Louise, I'm all ears if you have solutions for me because I'd love to help.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
the answer
I
as of
think
yet, but
just I think it's like a hard one to say as well because, say, for me, like 99% of the guys I've met are all like, they want to see more women play. They're encouraging, they're happy to see you there. But obviously, I'm an online player. Like, I've still had bad experiences at the tables, and I know a lot of my friends have. And it's a tough one to know how to deal with it because, on the one hand, poker is entertaining. On the other hand, I think you could have better ways of dealing with things. Like, say, all I ever hear when there's like bad behavior at the table for women is call the floor. And say before I started playing live, I'm sure I said that to like we have, you know, I'm involved in some of the women's group on Facebook and stuff, and I would have given that advice until I was in the situation. I don't actually like that advice, and I don't think we handle like abuse at the table very well
mm,
as an industry. Maybe because there aren't many women in the industry, it's kind of just like an easy fob off of some things that happen.
right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's like little things we could do because sometimes I think um, there are things that can happen when you play live poker that are like so intimidating to girls that they won't come back. And the
Mm,
knock-on effect of that, that means their friends don't hear about poker. It's taken probably a lot of effort to get that girl into a poker room. And like say, even if 99% of players are nice, if 1% are like, you know, sexist jerks,
yeah.
when you play live, you're gonna encounter them like every like few days. Like, you know, it's
Yes.
and if the experience is bad enough, women won't want to come back. So I don't know, because live poker is obviously where most recreational start, and I feel like it takes so much effort to get women to show up. It's just an absolute shame. When I hear things like that, it just makes my blood boil
Right.
sometimes.
You know, it's such an event when women play in a casino too. Like I remember thinking the table gets awkward sometimes when a woman sits
Yeah,
down. Like it might be quiet for 20 minutes and then a woman sits down and you just know like there's conversation is going to start and like this guy's going to
yeah,
feel weird and talk to his friend and not her, and this guy's going to talk only to her, and like this
yeah,
guy's the sexist pig, you know? It's just like everything just freaks out all of a sudden. It's almost like
yeah. It's
socially it's
funny.
awkward for guys at the table or something to have a woman play and
Yeah,
just treat her as a woman. um
yeah. It is weird.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I personally feel like I have a pretty thick skin. Like, I don't get super affected by things, but like I've had like three incidents that just stand out in my head as like I kind of was like, "Oh God, I just wish I could go home, you know?"
Mm,
And like, say, I think like one of them was turned into a positive experience. It was in Vegas, and this guy just was drunk and clearly had like a some kind of problem with women, and was just like directing all this like sexual stuff at me. It was super awkward. It was getting a bit aggressive, and I was like, oh, like what am I going to do? Okay, I have to call the floor, make a scene. It was like deep in a 1500. It was the
mm,
first time I'd ever sold action. Like, I want to concentrate. And I know I can kind of ignore it and play a good game, but I also feel like I'm the kind of person, if I have to make a scene, especially about myself, it's a super awkward
yeah.
thing I don't want to do that will like make me tilt. But then, like the other guys at the table, like the guy next to me is like, hey, you know, it's not just your problem. You're not the only one who can call the floor. Just like nudge me if
Mm,
you want me to call the floor, which I thought was really nice because some people will say like, oh, you should be calling the floor anyway. But the reality is like I'm shot taking. I'm like getting to the bubble of a big buy-in for me. It kind of seems unfair that it's like you're gonna have to call the floor. I've never seen a guy being kicked out for anything like that.
right.
So he's gonna get a warning. You're gonna have to sit there with this guy like fuming with you.
Yeah.
Then there's like safety issues of having to leave. Like I don't know the best way to handle it, but I think like Katie Stone had an idea and she plays a lot. I think that's her name. One of the
Mm-hmm.
American girls, and she had a suggestion where they have like buttons at the table to like call food or something,
Mm,
and that could be a way to just like report behavior like that without it being this huge like scene, and to
right.
have like actual rules for some things like that, like it's not just a warning like, okay, stop doing that, and then the girl still has to sit there with the guy who's been abusing her. I just
Yes.
feel like those experiences could make a girl leave and never come back.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. Like it's hard to know how to handle it, what the right way to handle it is, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I went through a thought experiment like 7 or 8 months ago, randomly, and I was thinking, what would it be like for me as a guy to sit down at a table that was like 8 women at playing
Yeah,
poker, and if all the whole room was all women, right? That
yeah,
would be weird for me because I don't
yeah,
participate in any sort of social institutions where I walk into the room and it's literally 97% women and I'm like one of the only men. So I
yeah,
kind of got it for a second. I was like, oh, I kind of understand like what women are up against just even getting into the game, like
yeah,
that environment. So I just empathize with the problem. I don't have any solutions, but I
yeah,
wish it could be better because poker is so
yeah.
good and it
Such
shouldn't
a
have a
cool
gender.
game.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it
Like,
shouldn't.
and that's one of the reasons, like, I know a lot of people don't like the women's games because they think they give off the wrong impression. But, like, one of the first times I played live poker was to this day one of the worst things. Just like, this guy was being horrendously abusive and he was a well-known player. So I didn't feel like what could I do? Like, this guy's a legend, like no one was saying anything, super awkward. So I always feel like for women, I see the point in having ladies events because you can guarantee that's not going to happen basically.
Yeah, it's like that tea
So
time at the golf course. Like you get to play with your
yeah,
friends and like people you feel comfortable playing with. It's not an
yeah.
open tournament. Yeah.
And it's not like if you like play ladies events, you're saying, oh, we need our own events because we suck at poker. Like obviously 99.5% of games I play are mixed games,
Mm,
but yeah, I don't see the harm in it at all, to be honest. I get why people think it's bad. Like maybe they think people will think, oh, women can't compete with men in poker. And I did some media stuff in Ireland, like with newspapers and stuff, and they did ask questions about that, like, oh, are the games separate? And you're like, no, like almost always they're not separate, but sometimes we have women's games.
mm.
So yeah, I don't know. I get how that impression can come from it, but I think they're overall a good thing.
Yeah, that totally makes sense actually. Like it I mean, you just think about the golf course and I'm not sure if your course was the same, but mine growing up it was the Lethbridge Country Club, and they had like
Yeah.
a seniors group of 65 plus of
Yeah.
guys that would go out, 4 groups, and then they'd have the
Yeah.
senior ladies, and then they had the super
Yeah.
seniors, like all these social groups, and everyone
Yeah.
was playing the same game. Some of the
Yeah.
60-year-old ladies were beating the 75-year-old guys, but it's just like
Yeah.
socially, and I guess that's the reason why we break it off sometimes, is for the social aspect, not the competition. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like the seniors games are so like popular in poker now. Like, and I mean, I don't see how anyone could really have a problem with that so long as they're not all the games. Like most of the
Yeah.
games are always going to be everyone can enter, everyone has a shot. I think having occasional games just for like that kind of social thing is pretty good.
I wonder if there's been any games similar to the high stakes live games that pop out, and like these high stakes tournaments that are sort of like almost private tournaments. I wonder if there's any women's group in poker that have just like a 1-2 or a 1-1 cash game group for women. Like, I wonder if that would work.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's actually kind of funny you said that, because I'm going to see my friend in a couple of weeks, and we did this last year as well. So there's a bunch of the UK girls who've been very nice to me, because there's not that many girls in Ireland play, so they've kind of adopted me. So last year we went to Katie Swift's house, and we all played like a small local event, and it was so cool. Like there was more women there than men,
right?
And even a higher percentage of women than were in the game got through to like day 2 and cashed. And it was just like really fun to see that many. It was weird to see like more than half the room be women. And this year we're going to Charlie is one of my friends in the UK. We're going to her house, and we're going to play a home game. And she was like, it's pretty sick. There's like going to be so many women playing a home game, because when do you I've never seen that.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think we're on the right path. Louise, we should do some interesting things on Twitch. We should try and get more women playing poker. I think we can figure some things out. But
yeah, like I'd love to do that. I feel like it's so hard to decide how, and I feel like so many guys want that to happen too. Like in Ireland, I almost feel a bit of pressure, because there's so many guys who want a girl to do well. You know, that kind of way. Like they're like rooting for you. Like that's the reality of it. And I always want to emphasize that part as well. Like when I was doing some like just normal media stuff that wasn't poker media in Ireland, like they'd always ask about that, because obviously to them it's like, why do no women play poker? It's like one of the first questions. So I'm always like trying to emphasize that like almost all the guys are happy to see women play. The problem is such a tiny minority, and you don't give them all the focus. Like, you want to try, sometimes I feel like when people talk about poker, it can almost seem intimidating. You'll think like so many of the guys there don't want you there. Like, that's not the case. I feel like the vast majority of guys I play with are happy that I'm there and welcoming. Actually, probably go out of their way to make you feel welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think poker players pretty much want everyone in the world to play poker.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think we discriminate like at all.
Yeah.
Like the mass majority are just like, yeah, sit down with some money and like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I agree. I want to shift a little bit here. You talked about going to Las Vegas this summer. In the brief that I got on your story, it said that you love Las Vegas. So I was wondering, do you have any like Vegas tips or advice if you're going to Vegas to play poker?
Not really. Yeah, when I went there, I actually always kind of told Vegas to be a place I wouldn't like, because I'm very, I always like kind of hippie-ish, like laid back places, like spent, like beachy places, or in Ireland, I live close to Galway. It's very relaxed and like alternative-y. So Vegas always seems a bit like brash, and like I wouldn't like it, but I loved it. I just feel like you can do whatever you want there. Like, I sold a package for like WSOP. I think I played about like 11k buy-ins, but I just like was in the money in almost everything, or on the bubble. So it was like such a packed schedule. So it's like playing poker all the time, then like eating, like going on the strip at night. It was just so much fun. And there was so much to do when you finish playing, which, I don't know, it's just awesome. I just loved it. Like, I didn't expect to love it, and now I'm just like, oh, I have to get back there for another WSOP.
Absolutely. Was that your first Vegas trip?
Yeah, that was my first one, and
The
I loved it so
it's
much.
the first time in Las Vegas. I don't know if there's a feeling like it. If you already play poker, it's like,
Oh, it was awesome. Even
oh,
just like at night, like I like bust a tournament, and then I remember like one night we went to the Absinthe show, which was so amazing, and then we were like just drinking, like went playing cash games, like it was just insane. Like just it was like 4 a.m. and there's like pretty sick cash games going on. We don't have things like that where I live, so
right.
that side was fun. Just I just loved it. It was really really good. I was also on a pretty sick upswing at that point. Like I had a really good 2018. So I think I was like riding the wave a little bit and spending a bit too much money. So that was fun, but I wouldn't do it again. Yeah, so it was good experience. Yeah, I love it there. Have you
Awesome.
been there? I assume.
I've been a couple times. First time I went, I
You
was
like it?
oh, it's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, there's nothing like it.
yeah.
The first time I went, I went as a kid, but I went as a 20-year-old, which was not old enough to play poker, but I was playing
Oh,
poker
okay.
full time at
Yeah,
home. And my family booked this vacation to Vegas for a week. So like literally is in the summer, the World
that's
Series of Poker
crazy.
was going on and I was
Oh
20
wow, yeah,
and like I couldn't play. So it was a very bizarre like first time in
yeah.
Vegas as an adult with my
That's
family.
crazy.
Yeah, but
You must just be like, oh, I'm so close, but I
the
can't play.
the nostalgia of just like for me the Bellagio fountains I think was the thing that I watched in films growing up, like the Ocean's 11, 12, 13. So every time I
Yeah,
walk by that, it's just, I don't know, I get a flood of emotions. It's a special
yeah.
place. It's like the home of
It's so
poker,
cool.
you know?
That's
So,
like I felt like so I booked it fairly last minute. Like I wasn't 100% sure I was gonna go. And yeah, I just been having a really good year and I was like, "Ah, I'm just gonna go." And like booked it all last minute, like booked a room in the Rio. And like every poker player hates the Rio, but for me, when I travel, I'm very backpackery. Like I stay in beach huts and like it was always like hostels, things like that. And then I was like, oh, I'll stay in the Rio because I want to be close to most of the events I'm playing and I don't really know my way around. But when I got there, I was like, wow, it's pretty sick. Like, say, within a year, you're just like, I've like paid for this trip, like from poker, like
right, yeah.
just getting a buzz off that, like seeing the room, just like, hey, I know poker players hate the Rio, but to me, it was like, wow, this is a sick room. Like, you just see the strip, and yeah, I don't know, it's just like a really cool moment. Like, I feel like maybe that is a moment that sticks out in my head a little bit,
Mm,
as yeah, like say I always still remember that feeling of like when I first started winning money in poker, going like to the shop and like buying groceries or something,
yeah,
and or like say when I got married, it was like I paid for a chunk of the honeymoon. I was just like, oh, we'll add on this place and we'll stay in this like fancy hotel. Because I wasn't living off poker then. I was just had started to make money,
mm,
and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I've paid for this with like money I made from a game. That was
exactly.
insane to me. I was like, I didn't have to like work for my stupid boss for this, or like the kind of just like a buzz off that, and I still sometimes get that.
That
Like if I'm
feeling,
on it,
yeah, that's the
yeah.
best.
Like if you're on like a terrible down thing, it's just like I'm still like paying my bills from this game. I still am happy to sit here and play it.
Yeah. For me, it
Yeah,
was like the mind, like, and I guess I didn't realize at the time that like everyone uses their mind to get paid somewhat, but I was just so
yeah,
proud. I was like, wow, I made this money,
yeah,
and all I had to do was like use my brain,
yeah,
And I was like, well, wait a second, every job does that, It's just there's no
yeah. It's
boss,
like
that's
that.
all. Uh,
Yeah,
I know exactly what you think, and I think that drives a lot of people forward in our game. I think that's
yeah.
why they play.
I
Um,
think it gives you a good degree of patience. Like sometimes, obviously sometimes you have plans like I'm gonna like play higher stakes and you take some shots and then it's like, oh, I've got to go back down. So I think if you always have that kind of like just simple happiness of you're getting to do something you love and you don't have to do things you don't like for money, it's like that can keep you going through down swings or maybe having to take a step back, or it can just make it easier if you have that attitude as well.
absolutely.
It must
So
be so hard, like for people who were around, 10 years ago making so much money who are still playing now, but have had to drop down stakes and things. It must be
yeah,
just like a completely different thing, I imagine.
I think so. And there's not many that have spanned that amount of time. I mean, even like
Yeah.
online poker, how many grinders online are still grinding online 10 years down the road? You know, they almost
Yeah.
always transition to live, maybe
True.
some live cash games, you know, like it's hard. Like
Mm.
yeah, it's
It's
tough.
a weird one because I feel like, at least in Ireland, like when I look at Pocket Fives and stuff, there's probably only like 3 or 4 like new players, say, out of, say if you looked at the top 30 or something, there's literally, I doubt there's more than 5 new names.
Mm,
It's like there is definitely a lack of new blood, and I feel like poker needs new blood because, for instance, on like Twitter and stuff, I try to like follow people who are still enthusiastic about the game because I feel like you can be exposed to way too much giving out. Like it can make you think it's impossible to make a living off poker. You know, just the games are so tough. Like, oh, what this site's doing is crap. Like just a lot of that stuff. Whereas I think it's just different. Like for people who are newer, you're a bit more excited. You're
mm,
still like if you're grinding today, you're doing it because you love it. I think.
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
pretty much anyone who's grinding today is doing it because they love it. So I think it's a good idea to like on social media follow people who are still actively playing. Or you could literally feel like, oh my god, this game must be impossible.
Right.
Spoken about totally differently.
It is, yeah, it is. Poker's like way too negative. Like I miss the
Yeah.
golf perspective on things where there was
Yeah.
like a lot more respect and tradition and like I don't know, it was just a happier place. And like golf is an old as hell game. Like
Yeah.
golf is like played out. Like you're not going to
Yeah.
become Tiger Woods. No one is.
Yeah.
But it's so happy and people try and they
Exactly.
love
Yeah.
it.
It's just like, oh, I'm out here playing golf. Like, and also, you know how it's like in a golf club, you just be like, oh, that player is amazing. It doesn't mean they're the best in the world. I feel like in poker, sometimes you say something and they're like, oh, they're not that good. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
like I'm not sure. Like, there's probably about like 30 players you're allowed to say are amazing in golf, like in poker. Whereas in golf, it's like there's like, oh,
yeah.
that player is like
10,000.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
okay, they're playing off like six. They're not Tiger Woods, but they're a sick player. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's a weird thing in poker. It's like, well, they're not that good, or I don't know.
And I think that's what we talked about earlier, right? Like the boom era of like, oh, you need to make 100,000 a year, or you need to have like $1 million
Yeah,
score. What's the point? You know, like that
it's
whole
weird.
BS. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's wrong.
No, it's really really odd, and sometimes I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I
where?
think golf's a good like it's a good way to look at it. Just like there can be like club pros, and everyone will be like, oh yeah, they're like really good at golf, and they'll watch them play pro-am. It's like the same. I don't know. In poker, sometimes I feel like it's like unless you're like top 20 in the world, you're not allowed to like admire someone
Right.
like local who's doing well, or yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree. So I'm getting towards the end of the hour here. We're actually a little over, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about where you're going with your career going forward. Like, do you have any goals that you're working on, and like, what does the next couple years look like for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have some goals. I think I'm always wary of like sharing goals.
Fair
um,
enough. Yeah.
yeah, but I would this year I would just really want to put in a really good volume of play. I really do want to work more on my game and play less hours, and that's something I've had a good start to this year. And over Christmas, I just took a couple of weeks off and studied and didn't put a lot of pressure on myself to play long sessions.
Mm,
So I'm going to try play like less hours, but be doing more work away from just clicking buttons. And yeah, I want to try like play a little bit higher online, take some shots online, and then after that, like have a look next year at maybe playing some more live. I was intending on playing a little bit more live this year, but I just think now I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's
yeah.
just too much up in the air.
The
Yeah.
action could
What
get
about
pretty good
you?
online
Do you
here.
have?
I think so. We'll see. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm focused online exclusively. Like my
Yeah.
thing right now is party poker team online, Twitch, like trying to grow poker, trying to
Yeah.
grow the site, and that's like where my head's at. So I'm gonna do my
That's
very
cool.
best to
Yeah.
not play any live this year.
Yeah. It's so
Um,
time consuming, right? Especially
mm,
if you're doing a lot of projects on top of playing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people follow along with your story if they want to see how you're doing?
Yeah, so I post lots on Instagram story. What is my name on there? Louise_Butler 045. Not very catchy. But yeah, that's my Instagram handle. And on Twitter, I'm LouiseB555.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I generally, it's all poker stuff. So probably Instagram stories is the best way to follow me. Like I usually like post up if I'm having runs, do
Great.
some amas and random things. Yeah. So.
Awesome. Well, make sure to check that everyone. Louise, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks so much for having me. It was nice to meet you finally as well, kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're on the same team. So it's nice to talk officially. And we'll follow up in a year or two and see how things are going.
Yeah, cool. Best of luck with all the projects and playing and everything.
Thank you. All right.
Cool.
Talk soon.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.
Big thanks to Louise for making the time for that conversation. I thought it was really great, and I hope you all think so as well. Make sure to check her out on Instagram and Twitter and follow along with her journey. Before I let you go this week on the podcast, we got to get to the JS Poker Hero, our weekly competition here on the podcast, where one of you listening/watching this show are going to play in the $215 Party Poker Million and hopefully win the first place prize of 130 or 140K, something around there. So that's the plan. Now, last week's winner was SafeHands73 on Twitter, at SafeHands732, who guessed $153,540. So congratulations. Represent us strong in the Party Poker Million this week. You'll be getting your ticket soon. Now, this week, we're going to do a different competition here for Twitter. So all you have to do, tweet out using the hashtag JSPokerHero. You can tag me as well, at Jaime Staples, if you'd like. And here's the question, okay? So the Millions World satellites start Sunday, and Party Poker is adding 5,300 CPPC to the first 100 qualifiers to this Millions World. So the question is, what would you do? What would you be prepared to do to win a $25,500 Millions World seat and a trip to Baha Mar? We will choose one of the answers. I'm not going to tell you how we're going to choose. We're going to choose one of the answers. What would you do? This is just for a $215 Party Poker Million seat, by the way. We're not giving you a $25,000 seat at this point, but I want to hear your stories. What would you do to try and win your way to the Bahamas and the Baha Mar and participate in this huge event? So that's the question. Good luck, everyone, on Twitter. And thank you all so much for watching/listening to this show. If you're enjoying it, please do leave a rating or review or a follow on Spotify or iTunes, on YouTube. A thumbs up is always appreciated. I'm enjoying doing this, and I'd love to hear your feedback and get it out to more people. So that would be great. That's going to be it for me this week. But until next time, we'll see you later.